And here is my final presentation. And we'll start out with this gym.
Okay, so it is Sunday afternoon or before noon. I'm not entirely sure. I just finished my painting finals last night, and now it's time for drawing. And this is where I'm at with my 4. Actually, I have this one started too, but we'll see you at the end.
So here's the finished product when it's all put together. It is a money sign, a cent sign, a Bluetooth symbol, and a semicolon. All of which I think are in kind of represent the negative space that humanity has over it right now. In the way that the pieces fall together, the money and the cents kind of are weighing the man down. I chose the Bluetooth because I think we are getting lost online while the real world kind of goes to shit. But the semicolon, just like I have it under my eye, means our story isn't over. Because it's a negative space piece, then obviously the piece has space. The colors are specifically chosen to represent the green greed of money, but also the nuclear glow of the nuclear wasteland. All of the shapes are supposed to be chaotic and run together. Because all of the pieces are interconnected and will actually move and have to be part of a grander scheme, the lines do meet up. They form the core of the negative space. I attempt to pull off the actual value, what little there is, with the negative space. I get into a little bit more value in the second part of this piece. I think it does have balance in its chaos. I attempt to balance things out. I put emphasis on the fact that greed and basically money, dollars and cents, and being online and instant gratification are killing and defining humanity's nature. And here is the main one underneath the 4 smaller ones. For this one is humanity's nature, and basically there is a whole bunch of negative space work. If you look closely enough, the men, or the forms actually form faces. I chose to leave texture out of this one, this main one, because I think that the negative space should speak for itself. It doesn't need to have texture for me to get the point across. I did waste a lot of time with the collage idea. The underneath that nuclear bomb is the World Trade Center collage. And basically the core idea is that humanity's nature is to turn our backs on each other while the world is exploding. I will go through some other of the iterations before I got to the end to let you see how I got there. And now we're going to get into Nature's Humanity, which was the piece that kind of started it all. And the concept behind this is that man used to be in tune with nature. And as a matter of fact, the old gods or the old ways, or Mother Earth or God, however you want to put it, kind of looked out for man and sheltered him and taught him how to survive. And then man paid back that kindness with developing its own nature of doing things, which is totally destructive. And so basically, I was able to salvage the texture that I haphazardly took out, and I think it really helps. It gives it that negative cave art feel, and that's the issue that I was having. Was if you go back and look at any of the cave art, and it is a lot of negative space work. The way that it appears to be constructed is that it's not lines, it is them filling in the negative spaces to make them appear to be images, which means that the primitive man had those concepts and was able to identify that there is a negative and positive space, and I think that goes a long way to talking about man coming into his own, or humanity. Starting in the upper left, I will kind of describe what's going on. I really had to redesign this one, especially when I went to connecting all the pieces, because it honestly appeared at one point to be a cow giving the giant man sexual gratification while a bunch of humans looked on in disgust. So I had to edit it, and basically it's the gods reaching out to all aspects of man. The going over to the right, upper right, you see kind of the famous Waldorf shape of the sacred divine, the sacred feminine, and with the swirl or vortex, which is indicative, I believe, of fertilization or fertility, because you see it a lot in native or primitive art like this. And basically, they're just getting down with the goddess. And then to the lower left, you have the monster alien feet reaching down from the breath of the gods, feeding the adult fetus, or feeding man, while another mother goddess gives birth. And then I wanted to include some animals, so I changed things up a little bit in the lower right, and did my take on animals, which actually, as you will see, the animals were my handprints, but of all of the negative space work that I was doing, I couldn't pull the handprints off. So I changed it up a little bit and went with animals, as you will see. And now we're going to get into the main piece of nature's humanity. And basically, humanity is getting down, dancing naked in the woods, with a afro wearing tree god, while the three fates look on, in a kind of amused, voyeuristic way. I like the juxtaposition that I was able to pull off between the two pieces, and of all of them, I think this one is my favorite, which is the one that I spent the most time on. And again, I was able to put back the texture, and if you look, I'll try to take better pictures, but there's actually a light source, kind of how the lighter looking paint. I know it looks like it's a flash, but it's actually my light source appearing a little bit better, because that's where my light source was coming from. So the texture is actually has value to it, which I was really, really proud of. You can't see it as well in these pictures. Hopefully you can see it in person before too long. But I was really, really glad that I took all the time I did to pull off the textured wall, because I think of all of the important parts of these pieces, that would be it, is the texture to make it look like a cave wall. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through some of the works in progress. You saw a little bit of me working on the garbage texture, and here I am wasting a whole bunch of freaking time on ideas and concepts that I'm going to trash at the last minute, to hopefully come up with a better concept overall. This is where I was Sunday night. I've decided that it would be important to put the texture back in. That's where I'm at. I will eventually add several more layers. Here is a picture of the wasted time that I did trying to pull off a collage nuclear blast. Here's some more wasted time on concepts that I'm probably not going to use. I wanted to play with the fact that there were globes. We were not just going to kill our world, we were going to kill every world. But I decided that the negative space would be the core concept, in that and here's the slash that I was going to then sew back together to symbolize that we are in this together. But obviously that didn't remain in the final outcome either. And back to the negative space developing. I'm actually glad of all the extra work. Here is when I'm still going with the idea that one painting is going to look like ruined and old, and the other one's just going to look primitive. And that was going to be my juxtaposition. But I really, really am glad that I went back and, first of all, shrunk the nuclear cloud down to match the tree a little bit better. And then I like that the negative space becomes the negative and positive connotations of the pieces. The nuclear bomb and the people in humanity's nature are the negative space. They are all that's left. Here's more work of me trying to develop, and here I'm seeing if juxtaposition within the individual pieces would work. Somewhere in the middle of last week, I was struck with an aha moment that the pieces all I needed to stop thinking of them as individual pieces and think not even two separate series, but one series. And once I did that, the overall concept really came together in all 10 pieces. And here's more of me working on the collage. There is a lot of hours in this, and I wish a lot of it could have come. I could have got more reward out of it, but I did learn a lot, and that's kind of why it's so hard for me to do art on a timetable, because my art is constantly evolving, even in the works. Like, I didn't really have the overall concept for this one until 4 days before the final was due. And then I'm scrambling, as you can see. And here's just more work that I would eventually layer on layer on layer and change the concepts a little bit. Okay, hold on.
Wait, I'm gonna do something real quick.
Okay, buddy, hold on. Here you can see a really good shot of the trash in direct comparison to the primitive looking art. And here is some of the earlier layers that I was working on. And you can see that I actually kept the core of the piece. And here is a look at what's going to be in the future for these pieces, especially with humanity's nature. Now for the other one, there's just going to be a play on these, but for the most part, and here is what happened when I was painting. I burnt my house down. I'm sure you remember that one. That one was a lot of fun. And here's more work. Me thinking I'm going to do one thing and trying to figure it out, only to be like, oh, I can't do it. Let's do something that I can. Even though I didn't stick with it, I really want to explore this, like, organic ink work later on. Yes, I lit the piece on fire to try to distress it a little bit. I think with a little bit more refinement, I could get it to come out a lot better. But here's just more of the process that I was going through, the many, many iterations of trying to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to achieve it and what juxtaposition I wanted to use. And it was definitely a process. As you can see, I use rocks This picture is what changed the juxtaposition design, because I saw how closely it resembled that. Here is a good shot of me constructing my garbage. It was a lot of fun. Like you said, I do need my own studio space. And this is the freaking cave wall that I still don't know that I could pull off. But it would definitely be a lot better than whatever that is. And here are some of the art that I base some of my work on. Either actual cave drawings or renditions of cave drawings, or just primitive looking art I used for inspiration. And here's some more of the early renditions of the other sides of the work. And I hope that you have enjoyed this.